Hi, my name is David. I'm in Tainan, and this is Taiwan in English. In today's exciting episode, we will be continuing on with episode 5 of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. From the moment Ichabod laid his eyes upon these regions of delight, the peace of his mind was at an end, and his only study was how to gain the affections of the peerless daughter of Van Tassel. In this enterprise, however, he had more real difficulties than generally fell to the lot of a knight-errant of yore, who seldom had anything but giants, enchanters, fiery dragons, and such like easily conquered adversaries to contend with, and had to make his way merely through gates of iron and brass, and walls of adamant to the castle keep, where the lady of his heart was confined. All which to achieve as easily as a man would carve his way to the center of a Christmas pie. And then the lady gave him her hand as a matter of course. Ichabod, on the contrary, had to win his way to the heart of a country coquette, beset with a labyrinth of whims and caprices, which were forever presenting new difficulties and impediments. And he had to encounter a host of fearful adversaries of real flesh and blood, the numerous rustic admirers who beset every portal to our heart, keeping a watchful and angry eye upon each other, but ready to fly out in the common cause against any new competitor. Among these, the most formidable was a burly, roaring, roistering blade of the name of Abraham, or according to the Dutch abbreviation, Brom van Brunt, the hero of the country round, which rang with his feats of strength and hardihood. He was broad-shouldered and double-jointed, with short curly black hair and a buff but not unpleasant countenance, having a mingled air of fun and arrogance. From his Herculean frame and great power of limb, he had received the nickname of Brom Bones, by which he was universally known. He was famed for great knowledge and skill in horsemanship, being as dexterous on horseback as a Tartar. He was foremost at all races and cockfights, and with the ascendancy which bodily strength always acquires in rustic life, he was the umpire in all disputes, setting his hat on one side and giving his decision with an air and tone that admitted of no gainsay or appeal. He was always ready for either a fight or a frolic, and he had more mischief than ill will in his composition. And with all his overbearing roughness, there was a strong dash of wagging good humor at bottom. He had 3 or 4 boon companions who regarded him as their model, and at the head of whom he scoured the country, attending every scene of feud or merriment for miles around. In cold weather, he was distinguished by a fur cap, surmounted with a flaunting fox's tail. And when the folk at a country gathering described this well-known crest at a distance, whisking about among a squad of hard riders, they always stood by for a squall. Sometimes his crew would be heard dashing along past a farmhouse at midnight with whoops and halloos like a troop of Don Cossacks. And the old dames, startled out of their sleep, would listen for a moment till the hurry-scurry had clattered by and exclaim, "Ah, there goes Brom Bones and his gang." The neighbors looked upon him with a mixture of awe, admiration, and goodwill. And when any madcap prank or rustic brawl occurred in the vicinity, always shook their heads and warranted Brom Bones was at the bottom of it. This rantable hero had for some time singled out the blooming Katrina for the object of his uncouth gallantries, and through his amorous toyings were something like the gentle caresses and endearments of a bear. Yet it was whispered that she did not altogether discourage his hopes. Certain it is, his advances were signals for rival candidates to retire, who felt no inclination to cross a lion in his amours. Insomuch that when his horse was seen tied to Van Tassel's paling on a Sunday night, a sure sign that his master was courting, or as it is termed, sparkling within, all other suitors passed by in despair, and carried the war into other quarters. Such was the formidable rival with which Ichabod Crane had to contest, and considering all things, a stouter man than he would have shrunk from the competition, and a wiser man would have despaired. He had, however, a happy mixture of pliability and perseverance in his nature. He was in form and spirit like a supple jack yielding, but tough. Though he bent, he never broke, and though he bowed beneath the slightest pressure, yet the moment it was jerked away, he was as erect and carried his head as high as ever. To take the field openly against his rival would have been madness, for he was not a man to be thwarted in his amours, any more than that stormy lover, Achilles. Ichabod therefore made his advances in a quiet and gently insinuating manner. Under cover of his character of singing master, he made frequent visits at the farmhouse. Not that he had anything to apprehend from the meddlesome interference of parents, which is often a stumbling block in the path of lovers. Ichabod Van Tassel was an easy, indulgent soul. He loved his daughter better than his pipe, and like a reasonable man, an excellent father, let her have her way in everything. His notable little wife, too, had enough to attend to her housekeeping and manage her poultry. For, as she sagely observed, ducks and geese are foolish things and must be looked after, but girls can take care of themselves. Thus, while the busy dame bustled about the house or plied her spinning wheel at one end of the piazza, honest Balt would sit smoking his evening pipe at the other, watching the achievements of a little wooden warrior who, armed with a sword in each hand, was most valiantly fighting the wind on the pinnacle of the barn. In the meantime, Ichabod would carry on his suit with the daughter by the side of the spring under the great elm, or saunter along in the twilight, that hour so favorable to the lover's eloquence. Well, that was exciting. Today's questions are a little bit different than before. I want you to compare and contrast the two main suitors for Katrina. I hope you can make a few sentences for each one of the following. How did they look? How did they act? And what did they do to win Katrina's heart? I think the easiest way for you to approach this new type of question is to use compound sentences with and or but. This is not a hard and fast rule, but and generally will compare and but will contrast. When comparing, things can be the same or different, but when contrasting, they need to be different, at least in the way you are contrasting them. A couple of non-Sleepy Hollow compare and contrast sentences. Let's see, I'll start with a couple same comparisons. Avocados and mangoes are both fruits. Eagles and penguins are both birds. Now for some different comparisons. Mangoes are sweet and avocados are not. Generally, you will want to say the positive thing first. Like here, one is sweet and the other isn't. You can go the other way if there is a word for it, but here there isn't really a word that means not sweet that describes avocados. Eagles are birds of prey, and penguins are aquatic, flightless birds. Sea turtles have lungs, and fish have gills. All three of the different examples, you could use but to make them more of a contrast. Mangoes are sweet, but avocados are not. Eagles are birds of prey, but penguins are aquatic, flightless birds. This is a very simple way of comparing and contrasting. It will get more complicated when you change from short answers to essays. One more suggestion, try to use both. Don't pick one and always use it. It can sound repetitive and kind of boring. And that's it for episode 5. Before you go, if you liked the video, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss anything. And don't forget to comment below. And as always, if you have any questions, you can find me here or on social media. Links below. And I'll see you in the next exciting video of Taiwan in English. Bye.